Hey guys, I'm Reese Maxwell from Thriving Man Life Coaching, and we are doing a series on conquering your insecurity so that you can live a life of freedom and confidence. So, this is episode 2 of the series. If you have not watched episode 1, you definitely want to check that out. My dad spent some time talking about what insecurity even is, how it's in our society everywhere today, and why it's so important to conquer it. I'm going to assume that you have watched it though. So don't forget, by the way, to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We release many videos talking about a variety of topics, but right now we are doing the Insecurity series. So if you like what you hear, go ahead and subscribe and click that bell notification so you can know right when we release a new video. So we talked last episode about this fact that insecurity is everywhere and conquering it is super important. But I've got a question for you. Why is insecurity the norm? Why is that always what seems to be our base level behavior? Well, I'll ask you this question. Have you ever felt an intense need to prove yourself? I have. I have 100%. I'll say just one example. I participated in what was called the National Fine Arts Festival. It's about 1 week worth of thousands of students from around the country getting together and doing a variety of things. I participated in songwriting, vocal solo, even short sermon events. And every time that I went to that conference, I prayed that my performance would be early in the week instead of later in the week. I did not want it hanging over my head because I had this pressure. There was such this sense of pressure that all right, I need to do this. I need to do well. I need to kill it. I want to kill it. And until I actually did whatever event I was doing and finished it, I felt like I couldn't fully enjoy the conference itself because I was so focused on what I needed to do. Have you ever been there? Maybe it's a sport that you played that, before every single game, the pressure was really, really high. Or maybe it was a test when you took an ACT or an SAT, one of those big standardized tests, you really felt like something more was on the line than even made sense. There was just this big sense of I can't just want to do well. I have to do well. That's kind of the same pressure that we're talking about, this insecurity feeding into accomplishments. All of us have that need to do well. We want to prove ourselves to others and to ourselves, but why do sometimes we deal with it constantly? Even in TV shows, this can happen. Think of Naruto. Naruto desperately wanted to become Hokage. Why? So that he could prove to everyone in the village that looked down on him that he was worth something. I mean, we see it in movies and TV shows all the time. The question is proving ourselves helpful or hurtful? Is it healthy or unhealthy? Well, it depends. And we're going to talk about what it depends on in the show today. So first of all, as we jump into the body of this actual video, I want to establish that progress and achievements aren't necessarily a bad thing. They're a good thing. It's good for men to have a drive to do better. It's good that Naruto wanted to go from a genin to a chunin to a jonin. Well, I mean, he didn't really ever get there in most of the series, but you know what I mean. That desire to get better and to improve yourself, mastering the Rasengan, that's good. Making headway in what you want to accomplish is a good thing. We need that for our own lives and personal satisfaction. Our society needs that 100%. If we have no drive, that's a big problem for us and for other people. There's nothing wrong with having the satisfaction of a job well done or a game well played or a business that's successful. All that stuff is good. The trouble is when we begin to look to accomplishments and goals to fulfill a role that they were never meant to fulfill in our lives. The drive to get better isn't a bad thing, but getting better will never substitute for a lack of self-worth. Accomplishments are a positive, but that can never replace confidence and the view that you have of yourself. You may be asking yourself, well, then how do I get accomplishments to have the correct role in my life? And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how to develop security later in this very series. But this episode, we need to establish right up front that what you do is not who you are. That what you achieve does not define your worth. If you think that, you'll be in for a world of hurt, a world of pressure, a world of things that aren't going to be good. So, in the immortal words of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, we need to learn that accomplishments need to know their role and shut their mouth. Outside sources of validation are bad for two main reasons. One, they are unstable and temporary. Let's talk about that instability real quick. You can do everything right in life and still not get a big achievement. I'm not trying to get cynical. I'm not trying to get jaded, but let me give you an example. Let's say you're a musician. You work really hard to master your instrument and your craft. You get excellent at writing music. You create this just perfect demo track of a song that's going to be awesome. You send it in to the major record companies. It gets to Sony Music, let's say, and the guy had a bad day. The guy listening to your demo had a fight with his wife that morning. The intern brought his coffee and it wasn't the right thing. And he gets your track. He listens to about 3 seconds of it and then throws it in the trash. You see, you did everything right, but nothing came of it. It's unstable. Every kind of accomplishment we run into has so many factors going into it. I mean, think of a sport. You go into football or soccer or something, and then you tear an ACL. Boom. The accomplishment that you were looking at that was right there, gone, up in smoke. So the instability of outward sources is just, it's not going to be a good way to define your self-worth if it's always changing. I think of my cousin. He was probably in kindergarten or first grade when he got his first girlfriend. He did it. He made the achievement. He got there. He arrived. But then she broke up with him because he picked his nose. That was it. He just did one little thing and it all went up in smoke. I feel bad for the guy. But thank goodness his security wasn't found in that relationship. But, you think, oh, well, now we're adults. People are more consistent. No, they're not. Everyone, truthfully, in my opinion, kind of stays at like that middle school, high school level socially, except for a very rare few, which I pray you will be, that move into full maturity. A lot of people never get past being in a clique and looking to their achievements and other people's opinions to validate themselves. That is an unstable source. Do not make that mistake. Second, when we look to outside sources to validate ourselves, man, life gets more dramatic. Have you ever had a friend or maybe just a person in town at the local YMCA that you're playing a game with, like a basketball game, and they think that YMCA local rec league basketball game is the NBA Finals? Oh my gosh, they'll fight a ref. They'll throw stuff at people. They'll yell. They'll cuss up a storm because it's like, dude, we're playing a basketball game for fun. And you think we're in the finals right now. What is happening? It's because of this issue. Whenever we look to outside sources of validation, all of a sudden that simple little game becomes something that I can use to prove myself. All of a sudden that little game becomes something that I can validate myself with. And so much more gets riding on it than it's really worth. It makes life more dramatic. Or think of the opinions of your friends. It's nice to have your friends like you and be happy with you. Yes, that's normal. But if you need them to like you and be happy with you, that opens up a lot of negative doors because then manipulation becomes very easy. Then all of a sudden, if your friend is having a bad day, you're having a bad day because, oh, you're not happy with me. I'm falling apart. When you look to outside sources for validation, it causes life to be so much more stressful. You get, you're not patient with yourself. You're very urgent. I have to accomplish now. These people have to be happy with me now. It's not a very fun way to live, but the opposite is also true. If we can develop security and no longer look to outside sources to validate us, all of the sudden, there's this lack of pressure. I'll give you an example from my own life. A couple weeks ago, my wife and I took a trip to Korea, and they had South Korea, not North Korea, because I know people are going to ask. We went to a paint cafe, and what that is you buy a drink, and when you get your coffee, you automatically get a little area where you get some watercolors and a little canvas to be able to paint on. It was a really cool thing. My wife loves painting. I am not a painter, y'all. I'm not good at the visual arts, to put it that way. I can use my words, I can write music, but if you want me to draw a stick figure, it's going to look like it's got a broken back, right? So that's the level of visual skill I'm working with here. I really got to enjoy painting. I tried to paint, tried's the key word, a sea with some clouds and a lighthouse. I was very ambitious. And, I probably got to like the 5th grade level maybe, which is good for me. But my self-worth and security wasn't riding on how well I did that painting. I do have a problem with perfectionism sometimes. So old me would be like, oh my gosh, I got to do this right, even though I know full well that that's not my strength. But the journey that I've been on to develop security has enabled me to do things for fun, not just to be good at it, but just because I enjoy it. And that time was great. I want you to have that same freedom in your life. I want you to be able to enjoy your relationships and even the things that you are good at well without your personal sense of self-worth riding on it. I remember the story, Adam Levine, the lead singer of Maroon 5, has won I don't know how many Grammys. And they were doing a tour of his house one time, and his Grammys were just like in closets behind clothes. And he's like, yeah, I got another one this year. I don't really care anymore. Even if you do things well, the truth is that will not be a source of satisfaction long enough to be worth it. So what I want you to understand is that even though accomplishments and people's opinions can be a good thing, that drive to get better can be a good thing. You just don't want that to be the source of who you are as a person. The drive to get better and to achieve will never satisfy a sense that you aren't enough. It won't change that. So that's not to be pessimistic. We just want to acknowledge that before continuing with this series. And so I want you to reflect yourself. Are you looking to outside sources for validation? Maybe that's your job. Maybe that's your wife's happiness level or your children's happiness level. Some people look to their kids' sports to validate themselves. Is there anything in your life that you're saying, hey, I have to be good at this? They have to like me. Because if so, we need to acknowledge that that is not fulfilling the role it needs to in your life. To put it in biblical terms, that's an idol. That's something that has elevated itself above its deserved level in your life. So I want you to reflect. I want you to think to yourself, do I have these external sources that I'm looking to in my own life? If so, I would encourage you to open up a note on your phone and write some of those down. Because as we move forward and we discuss how to get more secure, you're going to want to acknowledge that these things are areas that I have used as coping mechanisms, and I don't want to use those anymore. I want to develop security from the inside out. That's my goal for you. That's our goal for you. We want you to live a life where you can be free and confident. So if you find out that there are some external sources, don't beat yourself up. That's the last thing we want you to do. Just acknowledge that and keep watching this series because we're going to help you grow and conquer that insecurity.